My name is Danny Hill, and I was born October 14th, 1979. Apparently it was at 6:21 a.m. I weighed 9 pounds, 8.5 ounces. I was 21 and a half inches long, with reddish brown hair, blue eyes, in Westlake Hospital. The doctor was Monasevich. The nurse was Leanne. It started at 10 p.m. the night before. It did not arrive until 6:21 that morning. Memories about the event, according to my mother, she came to the hospital when contractions were 5 minutes apart around 12:30 at night. Waited, had been leaking for a couple of days. Dad was with me the whole time. They were together. Lost 16 pounds just by having me. That was important for my mother. So that is the day that I came kicking and screaming into this world. I was born into a prominent family. My father was Theodore Claude Hill. My mother was Diana Jean White. My mother was 30 years old when she had me. My father was 45 years old, which nowadays is considered fairly old. My mother even wrote in one of her personal notes, "Danny, I don't know if I can keep up the pace. I'm overwhelmed. I've been selling costumes, doing a newcomer's soccer team mother, assistant, blue bid mother. I don't know what that means. I'm in a sewing class. I'm your mom. I'm Jody's mom, and I'm Ted's wife. And these are all full-time jobs." It's a handwritten note from my mother. She left in my book. My father, Theodore Hill, was a prominent businessman. He was around for many years in investment savings. That's pretty much all I knew of him in his life when he was around me. There was much more to him, as I read, that he did before. I know that he was a graduate from UCLA. He was a huge fan and very well educated. My mother and father didn't stay together forever. They had come to the table. My mother had come to the table with one child, my sister Jody. My father had come to the table with one child as well, my sister Liz. My sister Liz is much older than me, so I really didn't see much of her. I was actually the same age as my nephew, Josh. So I didn't really see much of Liz. Every now and then she'd pop in. Jody is who I was raised with, and who I spent most of my time with. How did I get into radio? Well, I was in college and I was dating this girl, and her name was Kelly Riley, I believe. I think it is. And she was I met her. She was from Omaha. It's a weird story. She was here on like break or something, and I met her, and we ended up like hooking up, and and then she moved out here, and I was in love, and she was in love, and it was gonna be awesome. And I was just starting to get in at Quest, and I'm just trying to like figure out what I'm gonna do with myself. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, he's like, "Hey, we're doing a fundraiser." Like, hands me this piece of paper. He's like, "Hey, we're doing a fundraiser at Cuesta College for the radio station." And I'm like, "What is it?" He's all, "It's like the Mighty Cougar, and for $5 you can be a DJ for half an hour." And I was like, "What? That's awesome! $5? Hell yeah! I want to be a DJ for an hour." And I DJ'd. I gave him $20, and I was on 4 hours. And it was the worst thing you could have ever heard in your life. I literally sounded horrible. It was me, so high-pitched and so excited. And I played a lot of Beastie Boys and Destiny's Child and Eazy-E. I remember that's because it was college radio and you could choose whatever you wanted to play. And I loved that music at the time. So I was just hitting Beastie Boys over and over again. And Destiny's Child, I don't know why. I think because, or was it TLC, No Scrubs, or something was big at the time, and I was trying to appeal to the lady standing by the speaker. And that's the funny part, in college radio, there was just a speaker by the door. So, I mean, if you weren't, you could literally only hear it in the side of the school campus, or by the speaker by the door. I tend to think that more people heard me from the speaker by the door than actually through the radio there. But that was my first radio gig. And then after that, I signed up for the class, and I took the class. And I brought up Kelly because, like, about halfway into this, we ended up breaking up. And I'm just devastated, right? Devastated. In my career, I'm thinking, I'm going to drop out of everything. I'm going to do this. I hate this. I hate my life. Everything's over, And, the whole radio thing, I was having fun at it, but, there's a lot of steps. There's a lot to learn. It's just more than just talking. It was, there's buttons and memory. And at the time, you're learning how to cue up records and the wow effect and whatever. And I'm, just having a bad day in front of the radio station at the college. And I look up and I see one of the jocks there who's, paid to be on, and he's just this fat, hideous man, much like myself, but for some reason he's got like this hot chick with him. And I'm like, what? And I go, after he gets done like kissing her goodbye, I go up to him and I'm all, hey, what is that? And he goes, well, I'm doing a weekend shift over on Sly 96, and she listens to me over there, so she thinks it's pretty cool. And I remember going, what? You got like a real radio station job? And he goes, yeah. I got it last year because part of the final was you had to apply for a radio station gig. And I said, oh, I want to do that. And he's like, well, you got to put together a resume and air check. And I was like, I don't have a resume because I've never done anything. He's like, well, you've done college, so put that down. And I'm like, all right. And he goes, put together an air check, just record yourself here. And I did. And I sent it off, and I got no response. So then one day, I came into the radio station, and there was a pinup on the wall. And it had a sign of some sort. It said KVEC AM News Talk. It was in San Luis Obispo. Is looking for interns. If you have any questions, contact Chris Blood. And he was the program director of that station. So I contacted him and said I was interested in being an intern. And he said, okay, well, we're setting up interviews. So I went down there and I set up an interview, and the whole time I'm like, dude, intern means work for free. I don't want this, right? So he's asking me questions like why you want to be in radio and all this stuff, and I'm blowing him off like I'm just doing this because I have to because it's my final. And he can tell, so I don't get a call back. Like 3 weeks go by, and then all of a sudden my phone rings, and it's like 10:30, and if you're in college, 10:30 might as well be 5 a.m., right? So I go and pick my phone up, and I'm like, hello? And it's Chris. And he goes, hey, Danny? That's my Chris Blood voice. Hey, Danny? I go, yeah? You still interested in being an intern for KVEC? Who is this? It's Chris Blood, program director at KVEC. You still interested in being an intern? I mean, I guess. And that's how I got my first job. And I took him coffee every day. And it was horrible. I had a moped. And I had to ride a moped in the morning at 5 a.m. And it was San Luis Obispo, so it wasn't too cold. But it was cold enough. And I rode that stupid moped down to this little studio that was just a house on the side of a road. It was crazy. And I went there and I did my job, and I did that for like 6 months. Just worked for free. I got up every morning and I did it because I was like, yeah, screw it. What else am I gonna do? And I ended up becoming really good friends with Chris. And Chris Blood apparently had a brother named Stacy Blood, which I found out. And this is how it all works. Stacy Blood was the 3 to 7 jock on Sly 96 FM. And all of a sudden they had a part-time position open, and I applied for it, and I had real radio experience because I had interned at KVEC and brought Chris Blood coffee, and I had caught his satellite copy for him, and I worked in a real radio station. So I got my first gig. I was hired at Sly 96, but as it turns out, they when they hired me at Sly 96, it was a part-time job. It was awesome, like promotions, whatever. It was promotions and on air, and but they didn't really have any room at the time. It was a 24-hour live radio station, and they had a guy on the air. His name was Radar, and he was on midnight to 6. So they go, look, we're gonna put you on Coast 101.3, and you're gonna do midnight to 6 live across the hall from Radar, and that's what my paid position was for. So my first actual station was Coast 101.3, even though I was hired through Sly 96. And that was my first gig in radio.